Today I'm going to be looking at transparent or luminous darks within the picture. I've done a wee sketch where I'm going to preserve the whites. I think I know where my darks are going, and I'm going to be using a lemon yellow and a permanent mauve for my neutral darks because they're complementary. Okay, so I've got, just going to put the colours out, I've got a bit of lemon yellow, which is a nice transparent. We're looking for transparent colours. A raw sienna, which is much more transparent than a yellow ochre. A hooker's green dark, which is a nice transparent darkish green. A permanent violet, beautiful colour. And when you mix permanent violet and hooker's green, we will get a dark that will remain luminous. So that will be my darkest dark that I'll use. This is ultramarine blue and a bit of cyan, which is phthalo blue. Quite a powerful staining colour, but I might add a little bit of that in. And this is my opaque, which is a terra rosa, a Venetian red, English red, but it's an iron oxide and it's very opaque. And that will only come in for the roof. So that's my colours. Okay, so I have drawn this out. This is going to be my lightest white. I'm going to try and preserve that. Some darks in here. This will be a cooler, lighter, and the sky will be just a bit of cyan probably. So I'll put some water in and we'll just lay in a quick wash of a sky. Mix it with a little bit of ultramarine. I don't want anything too bright. Just a soft sky. Because this wasn't really about the sky today, this is about having luminous, so I'm going to leave that, luminous darks, which the shadows will be down here. So next I'm going to lay in this, which is in the sort of more distance, so I'll put a little bit of, I'll grey out the green and lay in. It's got a little bit of purple in it to grey it out. Might be a little too strong. Still a bit strong. There we are. So that's my distant hill. Moving down then, we've got a few more lighter greens. So I'll put a little bit of lemon yellow into the actually I want to use hooker's green. That's pretty in your face green, so I'm going to put a little bit of violet in that just to knock it back a bit. You have to do a little bit of mixing. You can drop colour in and do it on the page, but so I'm laying a little bit of just sort of abstract, a few marks. And then I'm going to lay in some raw sienna. again, sort of a little bit of abstract mark making going on. Be mindful while you're going around the house, or any preserved white. That's why we do our sketch at the beginning, so that we know where we want our white lights to be. This is another building. I'm putting in a light layer to tone the paper. One thing about watercolour is you can lay transparent layers as long as you let them dry, which we'll be doing in a minute. They'll be fine. So I wanted to give a sort of an underglaze to all of that area. Might bring a little bit more in over here. Not too much detail. Free and easy. These are going to be a few rocks and a little bit of foreground. This is water, so I might lay a little bit of, don't want that, a little bit of the sky colour. It's going to be too dark. That's better. Just reflecting that very light sky. And again, this wasn't about the water. This is actually about making some rather nice luminous darks. So I'm going to let that dry completely. I might even get the hairdryer on it. Layering in watercolour allows you to build depth, texture and luminosity in your paintings. So I've applied a very thin transparent wash as my first layer, and then I dried it with a hairdryer. Patience is crucial, but hairdryers help, and you do need to dry your layers, otherwise they'll pick up colour underneath and they'll mix and get too muddy. So you start with a light base, so I have already done that. I've drawn my drawing, I've preserved my whites, there's two little houses, I'm just a very light sky, a very light water. There's not much information, it's all fairly abstract mark making. And I'm gradually going to build up with a darker layer. So I've got my complementary chart out, and handling dark tones is a bit of a trick, but what you want to do is you want to mix two dark colours from opposite sides of the colour wheel. These are all opposite sides of the colour wheel. Today I'm going to use lemon yellow, and I've actually got permanent violet, which is this one here, because I thought it was brighter and more transparent luminous than the permanent mauve that was there. So it's a permanent violet and lemon yellow. And I'm also going to mix a hooker's green with that permanent violet, just remembering that it's right, it's permanent violet. And you get this, which is a beautiful, beautiful transparent dark. So I'm mixing lemon and purple and green and purple. So in order to show you the lemon, I will get some lemon yellow here, a bit of the violet. Now this won't go as greyed out as the green and the violet, it won't go that grey, but we will get a dark. And it'll be a browny purpley dark, but it will be quite a useful colour to lay in. So that's another dark I can create with yellow and purple. Okay, so as I say, this is the first initial wash. Each layer must be dry. This is the first layer. So now I'm going to start building up to the second layer. So I'm using a Hooker's Green, which is a Hooker's Green dark, bit of lemon yellow, bit of purpley violet, to just knock it back, because otherwise it looks a little bit garish. And this is just, we're thinking about sort of bushes and trees. This is all fairly abstract. I want to keep the fair amount of water in my washes as well. I'm using the tip of the brush to make a little bit of calligraphic detail. The raw sienna underlay will now show through if I leave little glimpses of it. I know this is going to be dark, so I have to think how much of the green do I actually want to lay. I've got a dark area here and a dark through here and some darks in here. So the more layers, the more possibility I run into of muddying everything up. Just adding a bit of raw sienna to the mix to keep the greens a little bit different, a little bit more lively. Raw sienna is a lovely transparent colour. Its sort of sister colour is yellow ochre, which is a more opaque but useful yellow. Okay, moving forward, a little bit of sienna mixed in. Got to make some brights through here. Again, keeping it all jungly. New Zealand bush and trees are extremely jungly. And I will put some in here. This was actually a mown lawn, so we might do that a little lighter. Just to denote that. So he's a little bit different from everybody else. He's mowed, so he's sort of quite calm compared to everything else that's around him. Moving over here. Your eye will fill in the dots almost for you, so you don't have to be too worried. I'm wondering what to do here. Shall I put I might just put a little darker green down here and then put the grey over the top. I think that'll be alright. Okay, these were some rocks, and there's a few rocks through here. I'll use my raw sienna. Now I could use a little bit of opaque Terra Rosa into the raw sienna, just to darken it down a little. And then just lay that in along there, and I'll just brush that in there. So we've got some darker greens going on, we've got some lighter greens, we've got some gold greens, we've got a light sky. This is in the background, so it's always a little grayer and it's further away, so there's not much information in it. This is reflecting that. This is the beach, we don't want too much in there, and so we've got the houses and the little bits of rock. I'm going to let this dry, put the hairdryer on it, and I'll be back in a tick. So this is now dry, and I'm going in. We've gone from the lightest wash, we've put a slightly heavier wash on, so that's sort of 2 layers. Now we're going in for another layer which will be a little bit heavier again, and I might start picking out a little bit of detail, and then I think the 4th layer will be the final dark layer. So this is just a little bit of information. And when I mix the lemon yellow and the violet, we got this lovely colour, which will be useful here actually. So I think I'll start off with that. That was here. Let's try it a little bit, put a little bit of more purple in it. So it's neither purple nor yellow, but it will be good for describing a few of the darks in here. Bit of shadow, bit through here. Put a little bit more water in it, make it a little bit lighter, I think. And then bleed some back through here. There were some sort of tall trees back there. I am using it for the shadows now. Just wanted those to be tall. And I've got some sort of bit of verticality going on because everything's so swoopy at the minute. We are. And I might just use a bit of the same blend, make it a little bit more purple, and wash it across the beach and maybe have a flick. And of course, done the usual trick, flicked into the sky. Never mind, they could be birds. Do be careful with that. It's much better to lay a piece of paper over that. But you know, we can pick it up. It's all right. Okay, so we've got a little bit of splatter. Bit of a nemesis thing splattering, isn't it? So a little bit more raw sienna. A bit more colour on the beach. Okay, again I'm going to let this dry, use the hairdryer, and then come back for the final darks. Okay, we're dry again, so this time I'm going to put in some dark areas. I'll put in the roofs and do a little bit of detail, and then that will be pretty much what I want to do for this demonstration. So I have mixed up lemon yellow, no, I've mixed up Hooker's Green Dark and Violet. We're in this area now. And so that's what this mixture is. And it does look it does look darker when it's wet, and I want to still put it in a sort of an abstract way. I know this was dark in here because it's still organic forms. And then there was some darks here. Mix up a little bit more violet, hooker's green. That's a fairly juicy one, so we'll go back in here with fairly juicy. That was under the trees. It's fairly dark near the edge of the house, and it was very, see if I can make the darkest dark next to the lightest light would be in here. So that's my darkest dark gone in. And then there was some dark through here. I'm going to blend this up a little bit. It's sort of a little bit of spotting going on. Okay, now I'm going to put in the roof, which is the Opaque Terra Rosa. Depending on the amount of water you put in it, to how bright it'll be. Put a bit more pigment in there. I did do the little windows in pencil, but a bit of hookers, a bit of violet, a bit more violet. I will put a little mark in. He had more windows. Behind. Okay, I'm now going to dry this again. This is the watercolor patience lesson. Dry this off, have a look at it and see whether I need to do any final touches. Okay, dry yet again. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to take some raw sienna and make a thin wash, and I'm just going to glaze it through here to give it, this area, a little bit more consistency. And I might just take this up here as well. I felt that was too swoopy, so I wanted to bring that up into there. So I've sort of made that one shape. And then I'm going to do that there. Here I think that's quite nice because that's at an open area where you've got all this busy going on, so they're sort of opposites, which I quite like. I'm not worried about this because really this picture was about these darks. This was the idea behind this sketch. I'm going to put a little shadow down this side of the house, very light, I don't want it that dark. Put that in the shadow, put that in the shadow, and I'm going to do a shadow, a blue under the roof. That's probably too blue, come back and take a bit of that out. Just because the colour will bounce against that reddish colour, which is rather nice. Might just put another little tiny bit in there. So that's sitting more in the picture now. And come down and put a little bit of reflection in the water. And I think we're done. So I hope you found this useful, that you can create these luminous darks. It hasn't gone muddy, it's still very dark, but you can still see a little bit of colour through it. And it's not a heavy sort of opaque feel to it. I think it still has that luminosity feel of the painting. I thought I would just show you at the end of all of that. This was a larger painting that I had done using the similar idea of mixing the purple and the green, but I also, with this one, used a cyan blue, which I overlaid in some of these shadows, which actually I think is rather lovely. So you could do that as well. I think this area went too muddy because I came back in, it was sort of more like this, and for some reason I came back in and did too much. So that's what happens. It can go muddy or it can stay luminous, and it's all about practice. So I thought I would just share that with you. Not everything always goes to plan. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.